So this is a little bit impromptu, kind of like most of my videos, but this is a little different. I don't know why I didn't do this before, but I've gotten asked this question a few times, so let's go through it. Which do I like better? The sniper, which we have the two-barrel sniper with the full Hyperspark setup here on the Mustang, or the Fitech, which I don't run timing control on this one. I did, but I think probably my first video ever on YouTube, I went over the DIS system. I run that on here. It actually controls the timing, completely controls it. It does not rely on the Fitech. So let's go over some of the things I like about each one and what I wish I could do to combine them. It'd be great if Sniper and Fitech were, the two units. I can combine all the good things about each one. Fitech, they make a really good unit. I think mechanically it's really solid. I think that the throttle blades are a little bit nicer on these, although the fitment issues, if you don't get them adjusted right, they can hang up when they get hot. So I think that that's one of the issues with these. There's the Sniper uses more a traditional steel throttle plate. When I say throttle plate, I'm talking about the butterfly valves. There's that. The fuel pressure regulator. I think the Fitech fuel pressure regulator is a better regulator. It's based on the Bosch design. If you put a real Bosch regulator in, which you've seen, and if you watch my videos, you'll find that I've replaced this with a genuine, real Bosch regulator. I think that that's a better design. The regulators in the Hollies tend to fail. They don't flow as much as they say that they should. These will do a solid 255 liters an hour. The Sniper ones tend to fail a little bit more frequently. I have not had that problem because mine is in the tank. I run a deadhead setup, which is something that's nice about the Holley in-tank fuel pump modules. The ECUs, same problem. If we look at here and we look here, the ECUs are built in. I don't like that personally. I think from an installation and ease of use standpoint, I think that it's great. I've had the same problem on, but I've had two ECUs fail on this, and I've had one ECU fail on that. So that's something that's similar. The sensors are all relatively the same between the two. They both use GM style sensors. No real issues there other than both, guess what, Holley and Fitech, they both do the same thing. They buy Chinese cheap sensors. They don't use the real Delco sensors. I've replaced all of mine. Not on this unit, but on the Fitech, I've replaced everything with a real Delco sensor. And I keep spare Delco sensors in here, so if this dies in the middle of the road somewhere, I can replace them. The tuning capabilities, self-tuning capabilities, that is. I'm going to give a vote to the Fitech. Base fuel map was very close. I didn't have to do anything. Their software is not really readily available, unlike the Sniper, which, you basically have to have. You can run it without it, sure, but you really do need the software to smooth the tables and everything. I've never opened the file for this. Well, that's not true. I've opened the file for this before, and I have played with it, but I certainly didn't need to. The Fitech is truly self-learning. I think that their algorithms are better. My truck, I don't even look at the learn comp limits on it. It just handles it. Look, the thing runs great. Why would I screw with it? This takes a little bit more finesse. You got to smooth the tables. I've had to do manual adjustments on it. So there's that. Let's talk about the handhelds for a minute. Fitech makes a couple different handhelds for this. I run the older style one, which is this one. Relatively robust. It's aluminum. The screen's kind of small. What I don't like about it is it uses kind of crappy connectors. They use like an 1/8 inch audio jack for the data, which is, CAN bus, whatever. It's not as good as it should be. It doesn't power on and off with the ignition. That's kind of lame. But, it works. It's fine. You have to click the button every time you want to be able to see everything on it. So that's kind of lame. The Sniper has a little bit bigger screen. It, you know, it's a little bit easier to use. They give you a little stylus. Has the same issues, really. You know, you can't really use your finger, just like the Fitech's touchscreen. I guess I kind of like that Fitech has the joystick on there, gives you a second option, but they give you this little stylus, and it works. Sniper, it powers on and off with the key, which is really nice. It's a better user interface. I think that Holly spent more time. It's got nice gauges. You know, I don't have the new Fitech one. I think the new Fitech one is better. It's got a bigger screen, but it's still kind of cheesy. It uses like a USB-C or something. You know, it's got a real connector on it. It's got a positive snapping lock on it under the hood. It's got like silicone nice cable. This is a pretty robust cable. You know, it's like robotic cable, which is really nice. You know, it's not as cheesy as the Fitech cable is. So, you know, those are things that are important. Now, certainly the ignition options largely the same between the two units. What I do like about the Sniper, you can buy a Hyperspark unit for many different makes and models, including the more rare inline 6 that I've got, this Ford Small 6. They do have a distributor for it. That's what I run. It's got a CD box, Hyperspark CD box, Sniper coil. The nice thing about running their Hyperspark complete setup is you don't run into the RFI issues. At least I haven't. Of course, it's more rare. You're shielded by the block on an inline 6. V8's more troublesome, although I don't see a whole lot of complaints about RFI with Hyperspark. I do see it with using an MSD box, which is funny because MSD is Hyperspark. MSD is owned by Holly, if you didn't know that. It's all one company. But this has been tuned specifically for it. One of the cool things about the Hyperspark distributor is that the Hyperspark distributor uses a Hall effect sensor versus a reluctor. Without going into the details, if you want to know more about it, I can make a video about it. But Hall effect sensors are not as susceptible to noise as reluctors are from ignition sources, and that is a lot of times where problems come from. So this system has been designed around the fact that you're going to be using a high-powered ignition system with it, and that you have a computer controlling it. You actually cannot run this distributor with anything but a Terminator or a Holly EFI. Actually, I think it'll work with any of the Holly EFI units. So Holly's kind of, I would say in general, Holly's kind of refined this a little bit better. You know, you can buy all the stuff and it generally kind of works and it's meant to work together. Fitech does not offer ignition systems. I had nothing but problems trying to run timing control on this with my MSD Pro billet and my 6A CD box. Not reliable. A lot of issues with it, getting rotor phasing right and all that stuff. There's no rotor phasing here. You don't have to do that. The Hyperspark gets indexed a certain way. It's designed around it's already a locked out distributor. There's no guesswork involved. It just does what it's supposed to do. There's no playing around with that. I opted to go with the DIS system. If you're interested in that, there's other videos that I've done on it. It's starting to really catch on. I'm getting people on Facebook that are joining a group that I started for the MSD DIS systems. There's people that are curious about it. Everybody that's on that forum that I know that has bought one, there's not many, there's like 40 people, but there's probably like 4 or 5 that I know of that have installed it. They've had zero issues with it. Me as well. It uses LS style coils and it's pretty solid with the Fitech. What's nice is you're getting rid of that gap that's between the rotor and the cap that you would normally have. That's a source of RFI. These things don't play well with it. RFI issues, exactly the same. Look, I'm on the Holly forums, I'm on the Fitech forums. Everybody has the same problems. It's not switching over to one or the other and your problem is solved, although that works for some people. You know, I got guys that swear that they had a Sniper and they switched over to Fitech and it's just so much better. I've got plenty of guys that I see on there, they switched over to Sniper and they're giving the middle finger to Fitech. I run both. I've had the same problems with both. I like both. Fitech is nice. It's a smaller company. I like supporting them. They're local to me. So that's a good thing. One of the things that's better I'm just, as I'm kind of vamping this, I'm just thinking about stuff. This is not scripted as I usually do, or as usual, I don't script anything. It's all off the cuff. Holly has a dedicated ground going to the ECU into the system. So you have a dedicated hot and ground wire. Fitech does not do that. Fitech relies on the intake manifold ground right here. And I think that's probably not the best thing to do. I personally didn't want to add another wire to it, so I did a bunch of testing and work to make sure that that point is solidly grounded. For the average person that isn't throwing a bunch of test equipment on it like I did, just throw a ground wire on there. I think Fitech should have done that. I think that both companies should be shielding all their signal wires, which they don't do. That's an engineering 101 fail right there. In my world that I work in, it's important to have that stuff shielded. Signal wires are real sensitive, especially 0 to 10 volt, 0 to 5 volt stuff. That's why they use, a lot of times things are 4 to 20 milliamp current controlled because it's less susceptible to noise. So anyways, they don't do that here. It could be very simply solved by a little bit more expensive wire. My opinion really is with these systems, I would gladly, and I think most people probably say the same thing, at least the guys that have had trouble with these systems, would probably say I would gladly pay 30% more if you just put some freaking well-made sensors on the thing and spent a little bit more on, the ECU, making sure it didn't have cold solder joints, higher quality electronic components. That's a lot of the problem with these things, is quality control stuff. And that costs money. I get it. But, offer me the unit. I'll pay it because I don't want problems. I don't want to get stuck on the side of the road. It does worry me a little bit with these things, but it's still better than a carb. Carbs don't play well with today's fuels. So overall, I love both systems. The question I get asked probably most frequently, and I'll answer right now, what would you buy in the future if you had to put another system on it? Probably the Sniper. I'd say I probably would go with the Sniper. I think it's a little bit more well refined. I think the ignition system just kind of working is really, that's a real sexy feature. It just works. Holley's customer service so far has been pretty good. It's more of a personal thing for me that when my Fitech screws up, I can just drive to Riverside, which is a couple hours away for me. That's kind of nice. They're a little bit smaller, so you can kind of get a little bit more personal with folks. Holley's such a big company, you're never going to talk to the same guy twice. I know a couple of the guys at Fitech. So, that's more of a personal preference thing. It affects me. It's not going to help everybody else that isn't around here. So those are just, a couple of the things, with these systems. As you can see by looking or by listening to what I'm saying, if you combine the good things and the bad thing, took out the bad things and combine the good things, you'd probably have a really good system. It's just, they both have their issues. If I was to weigh it out, if I put these two systems on on the scale of judgment, it's probably be about even. They both have equal issues. Certainly it's not like, oh my God, the Sniper's a million times better. And I've worked on a number of these systems. These are not the first two that I've done. And I help a lot of other folks with the Sniper stuff. There's a local speed shop here. Guy's been around for a long time. I help him out too every once in a while. He says he takes more Snipers off than he puts on. People get frustrated with them. They talked about it before. The install is critical, highly critical. There's an old video that I did on that. It's 5 things that if you do them, you will be way more successful during install. If you do those things. So anyways, I just wanted to go over, which one I like more or less, and really the answer is there isn't one. Those are just the things that I like about one or the other.